Hey guys, what's up? It's Sydney. Welcome back to my channel and to my new series, Haunted Locations. This series is just going to be basically me showing and telling you about my favorite spooky and haunted locations in the world. If you do not believe in ghosts or spirits or anything like that, I just ask that you be respectful, as I do, and a lot of people that will watch this video probably will as well. So for my first episode in this series, we're going to be talking about the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, Insane Asylum, Lunatic Asylum, same diff. That is in Weston, West Virginia, and it was built in the 1860s. Obviously built for the mentally ill, but a lot of other types of people and patients were admitted there, which we will go into. So the estate property basically consisted of a full dairy access, a full farm. It had a cemetery already built on it, and it had waterworks. And in 1902, they actually had a gas well put in, drilled into the land. So the property was originally meant for only 250 patients. And this was in the 1860s, remember. It was like 1863, 1864. So by 1881, there were 500 more patients than there were to be expected. And this property was open for a long time. So by 1988, 1,661 patients were admitted. And by 1902, 2,440 patients were admitted. So as you can imagine, the living conditions were just unbearable. They were disgusting. They were uninhabitable. And on top of the conditions being very bad, there were rooms that were meant for single patients, and they had put 4 to 5 people in a room together. So very little space, terrible living conditions already right off the bat. And because the farmland and the dairy was only meant to sustain around 300 people, there was a lot of death because of starvation. And it was not only with the patients, but the people that were waiting to be admitted. And these were a lot of Civil War vets and stuff, which a lot of visitors that go there now in this day and age say that they can see the Civil War vets manifest in front of their very eyes, which is kind of crazy but kind of sweet. I would love to see that. Not only were the living conditions shitty and were people dying of starvation, but because they were so outnumbered, the orderlies actually couldn't control all of the patients or the inmates at this point. Their mental health just kept increasing because of this reason, because they couldn't be controlled and the other patients couldn't be controlled, which made the other patients' mental illnesses worse because it put more stress on them. So it was just crazy. And then obviously they're mentally ill, most of them, so they would kill each other also. So not only were the living conditions terrible, were they being killed by other patients or inmates, the doctors were doing really inhumane experiments, or not experiments, but they're trying to cure their mental distress or whatever. So they would do terrible things. One of these, I'm only going to mention 2 because it's honestly the only way I'm going to be able to stomach doing this video. First is going to be the frontal lobotomy. If you don't know what that is, it's where they take an ice pick and a hammer, they stick it in your eye socket, where they think the connection to your mental distress is, and they just scrape away at it with this shit, and they think that works, and it's a very traumatic, very gross and disgusting procedure. So, and the second one's going to be the ECT, the electric shock therapy, which I'm sure you guys have heard about in movies and other stuff before. It's where they basically connect electrodes to your temple. They put electrodes to your temple, and they basically run an electric current through your brain, which induces you to have a seizure, and that's supposed to cure your mental distress. So, I don't know about you, but if that was happening to me, I'd be in way more mental distress than ever. And for the patients that were unhelpable, that did not get any type of results from these experiments or anything else that the doctors tried to do for them, they would lock them in cages and let them die in their own blood and excrements. And that, to me, is just so gross and inhumane. And obviously, that's gross and inhumane. Like, if you think that's normal, then you should be in a place like this, but not with these living conditions and stuff. Like a normal place, I guess. So that's basically like all the backstory stuff that I can really get into. So one person that can attest to like the paranormal activity that goes on or went on in this place is actually a woman called Sue Parker, and she was a former employee of the Trans-Allegheny Insane Asylum. Sue retired in 1902, but she would often see spirits walking around as if they were like real people. She would like mistake them for real people. She would like, you know, say to her coworkers, "Oh, I thought we were alone today," and then they would say, "We are alone today." And she would see ghosts all the time and hear doors shutting and stuff like that. So she's a good witness, I guess. Oh, and one thing that she did mention is that back in her time, women didn't really have a lot of rights, obviously, because it was like, you know, back in that time. So it was known that if a man wanted to like get rid of his wife, he would basically lock her away in this place. And even if she was deemed sane, she wasn't allowed to leave. Basically, if your husband didn't want you anymore, you would be put in this place. And I guess it was like known for that. A lot of them actually died there because, like I said, they weren't released even if they were deemed sane. So a lot of their spirits are said to walk among the halls of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. And according to Sue, there was actually no documentation of deaths that went on in the asylum. There, even as advanced as we are or were in that day and age, they still didn't feel the need to document the deaths, which to me is just like crazy, because it's supposed to be like a mental hospital in a way, you know, it's an asylum, or you're supposed to be treating people for that. So I feel like it's very necessary to document deaths, but that's just my opinion, I guess. But Sue said that if she had to guess how many deaths took place, she would guess in the 1,000. Okay, so now my favorite part is the famous ghosts that reside in the asylum. The first one I want to talk about is Lily. She's the most famous and kind of like the saddest and most tragic story that there is in the asylum. So Lily was basically born to a woman called Gladys Ravenfield. I think it's Gladys. I think that's how you say it. But so Lily was actually said to be the product of her mother's rape, which is why she was born in the asylum, because her mother was obviously mentally distressed over her rape. But not only was Lily born into these walls, but she was technically considered an inmate or a patient at this point. She actually did live a very short life and died in the heart of the asylum. Visitors have gone there and left her toys and balls and dolls, and she just loves to like pick them up and move them, and it's not like, you know, crazily or whatever, but like there's videos like on YouTube and stuff where she like moves the ball and you can see it clear as day in the video, and it's awesome. I really want to go there and like see that room specifically. That would be a bucket lister for me. But like I said, it was the saddest story, because not only was she the product of her mother's rape, but her mother was actually never allowed to raise Lily. So she was basically raised by the orderlies. She has been known to play with the toys that visitors have left for her. She's been known to steal candy if there's any around, and to like tug on visitors' clothing and stuff. It's said that she's still looking for her playmate, which is really sad. So the next ghost that I'm going to tell you about is not as friendly as Little Lily, but her name was Ruth, and she is said to hate men. And when men visitors come to visit the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, she is said to have been very aggressive and very violent with them. So she has been said to push them, to be threatening towards them, so she has used like she's actually spoken and used like threatening language towards them. I couldn't find any information on why she hated men so much, so I'm really not sure. The third ghost that I'm going to tell you about is actually Dean. And Dean is actually, on the other hand, very peaceful, although he suffered a like very gruesome fate. Like I said before earlier, that the orderlies like really couldn't control the patients or the inmates. There would be a lot of deaths because of that. Dean was unfortunately one of the victims of that. Two of the patients got very rowdy and was attacking him. They basically attacked him in his room. They beat him up, they raped him, and they tried to hang him. And the hanging actually didn't work. So what they did is they took his head after they beat and raped him, so he was already basically subdued. They took his head and they placed it under the bedpost of one of the beds, and they jumped on the bed and crushed his skull. And that is unfortunately how he died. So even though he did suffer a very gruesome fate, he is said to be peaceful. And then there was Elizabeth. Elizabeth was actually a nurse that worked there and was, I think, attacked, and she was actually killed inside the asylum. Her ghost is said to be trapped there, and she has been known to open doors, close doors. She's known to be seen by the nurses station. People just have reported seeing her as if she's still working there. And last but not least, there was an inmate that was admitted, and he was there and he was actually stabbed 17 times. I couldn't find his name or anything like that, but visitors still say that they can hear the moans and screams as if he's still being murdered. There is so much more information on this spooky place that I can't even go over because this video would be like an hour long if I did. So I'm gonna leave it there, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my first episode of Haunted Locations. Stay tuned because I'm gonna go over a bunch more and it's gonna be a fun series. So yeah, hit that like button for me, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so that way you do see when I do post a new video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.